Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we had digital discussions in the worlds of pop culture, social media, sports, TV, film, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter you can find me as PD Beats. Kim's Convenience is arguably one of the most talked about shows in the Twitter sphere, social media sphere, TV sphere right now, and we are pleased to be joined by an actor who plays Jung on Kim's Convenience. We're with Simu Liu. Simu, welcome to Popternative, man.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
And representing the shirt and everything.
This is our rap shirt for season 3, so I thought I'd represent in solidarity with our wonderful cast and crew. Yeah,
absolutely. First of all, we're talking about before we went on air. Congratulations on the success. The international distribution of it has really allowed and exposed Kim's Convenience to the whole world, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's a show that frankly needs to be seen by certain people in certain countries right now. I think it's it's a nice, heartfelt immigrant story without being too pushy, and I think it's maybe just what the world needs. So I think the timing of it is pretty good.
And would you say that what do you think from your perspective is making it connect with so many people? The stories people can relate to it. Hey, it reminds me of my upbringing type thing. Or do you think it's also the combination of that and the comedy and the story? Like, what do you think kind of takes stride with the audience?
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I think it's like a combination of people identifying with the characters, especially with Amma and Appa. I mean, the breadth of the people that approach us and say like, "Oh my God, Appa is exactly like my dad." Like, it's incredible. We have people from literally all walks of life, all over the world, but kind of like the themes of family are so universal, and the themes of this like grumpy, quirky dad and equally quirky, strong mom. Like, I think they're extremely relatable and also very funny. I mean, the comedy that we play in the family is kind of the comedy that we see in our own families every single day, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's why the show has succeeded in the way that it has. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we have some pretty incredibly talented writers and actors playing the parts as well. So I'm extremely blessed to be able to go to work with them every day. And honestly, it's such a treat. They're so funny.
Oh, for sure. The chemistry between the family is, you could see it, like it's just instant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all really great friends in real life. It makes coming to work really, really easy. I mean, we were just at Andrew's house yesterday, actually, for a big barbecue. So he had like a bunch of us over, and it was just fun to hang out and relax and kind of, it's good that we've built that friendship over a long time too, kind of starting from before anybody knew what the show was or who we were, and then kind of having experienced it all together.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We'll get back to Kim's Convenience, but I want to talk about you specifically. I want to talk with Simu Liu. I want to talk about you. Yeah, exactly. Right. So you do a lot of things, like people that will go on your IMDb, like people see what you've done in the past. You've acted, you've wrote, you've directed. I believe you were a stuntman. You've done so many things. When did you kind of decide that you didn't want to just act? You wanted to do everything. And what is your favorite discipline? Because I just mentioned a lot, but what's your favorite thing to work in?
Okay, so 2-part question, right? So when did I realize that I couldn't just be an actor? I think I realized from the first day. I think it was like I took one look at where the industry was at. I took one look at my face. And, I had to be honest with myself. I was like, I'm not seeing a lot of myself on screen. This was about 6 years ago when I started out, right? And I was like, if I'm going to try to go out for the roles that I want, because not only was I an Asian actor, but I was also an actor starting relatively late in the game with no formal training. So I was like, I think I have to really fire on all cylinders. So I have to, be proficient in multiple disciplines and not just acting. So I did start to take acting class. I put myself in acting class pretty much all throughout the time that I was an actor. But I also, in my spare time, when other people might have been like, getting a drink at the bar or like, you know, relaxing, playing video games, I was like, you know, I'm going to teach myself how to write. I'd always had like a dance martial arts background. So I was trying to get into stunts as well. And you know, it's just this notion that like, I so badly wanted to work in this industry. And I felt like if I just was an actor, or if I just told me like, I'm just going to be an actor,
it's going to be limiting.
It's going to be limiting. And, you know, I don't know, I might make it, but you know, it's not for sure. And that kind of lack of control really gives me a lot of anxiety. So for me, it's better to kind of like, you know, have as many horses in the race as I could. So yeah, I mean, I just started writing. I mean, and the cool thing is that, you know, now that Kim's has taken off, it's kind of opened up so many opportunities for me to work in all these other fields as well. Like, you know, I'm in development with the CBC right now on a digital series that I created. So, you know, it's something that I've been kind of a muscle that I've been working out since the beginning, but now because of Kim's, I really like, I get to do amazing things with it. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it that, you know, like for many years, there have been a lot of amazing, successful Canadian television shows, you know, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama. I mean, you know, Corner Gas, I used to watch all the time.
Sure.
You look at Trailer Park Boys was, I think, one of the first big shows that kind of took international distribution and wasn't just like popular in Canada. Like it's popular in the States, popular everywhere now.
Yeah.
Letterkenny and Kim's Convenience, two comedies, and I find that's really important. It just seems like those two shows are kind of attempting to put Canada on the map for TV. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fair to say. Like, you know, I think the show really lives and dies by the writing. And I think we've known for a really long time that Canadian writers have a pretty awesome perspective. And you know, I don't know who's in the Letterkenny, you know, room. I know Jared Kiso's hilarious. Jacob Tierney's hilarious. And we have, you know, we have Kevin White, Ince Choi, the two showrunners, and just like a roster, like a hall of fame of Canadian comedy writers, you know, in that room writing for us. So it really, like, it's a treat. And yeah, it's about time we got some international recognition, you know, and for shows that take place in Canada, not like, you know, this is a show that takes place in a nondescript city in the States, possibly, but it's like, no, this is Toronto. And for Letterkenny, it's like, this is Letterkenny.
I always thought it was the coolest thing because Life with Derek, which was like a kids sitcom from the early, like from the mid 2000s, was like a Canadian show taking place in London, Ontario, on the Disney Channel. Like they actually put it on the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was cool to see. And it was funny because growing up, I didn't realize that it was, when I was younger, I didn't realize it was a Canadian show. I just saw that it was on because I had access to like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. I saw, and it was actually one of my favorite shows on Disney Channel. And then I realized, you know why? Because I relate to it. There was hockey in there. It felt like cozy Canada. It reminded me of like the way they were talking and stuff going on in their city. It reminded me of Ontario and where I grew up. So that's important.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, so many Canadians, like, we talk about it in the industry a lot, but we have such like an inferiority complex when it comes to like the content, you know, like Canadian TV, like we feel like Canadian TV shouldn't be as good as US TV for some reason, and there's no reason for it, right? There's absolutely no reason why a show like Kim's Convenience can't stand on its own against shows in the States. And clearly what we see on Netflix is that, like, when you introduce the show to that audience, it is hitting. It is universally relatable, and to me, it's doing better than a lot of American shows are in America. So
it's unbelievable right now. And Kim's Convenience, like we talked about a little bit. I mean, you see the cast, like yourself, Paul, you're getting so many tweets and messages from all over the world because it's on Netflix, available almost everywhere. So two-part question again. I'm just hitting you with all these two-part questions. But,
it's all good,
I don't want to talk as much. I want you to talk. But part one, were you expecting this amount? Did it exceed expectations in terms of reception from the world? And then second part of the question was, what was kind of the reaction, the reception from your end about when you found out it was going to get international distribution?
Okay, so did I expect that it would get to this level? Honestly, no. Like we talked about, there's kind of this like expectation that a Canadian show will only ever be seen by Canadian people, and like, it'd be great. You'll be kind of like a local TV star, and it'll be, that'll be that. But ever since the show hit, and we knew that the show was special. Like we knew that the writing was good. It wasn't that. It was just that like, we had no right to kind of expect anything greater, because we had never, all of us collectively in the cast had never experienced anything like this before. So, we didn't really have any reference point. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we didn't know how drastically our lives would change. So, yeah, when the show started coming out and in season 1, like we started getting recognized on the street, that was already like so overwhelming. It was like, oh my goodness, like people are actually watching the show, right? Like, so that in itself was extremely, extremely cool to experience. And then now the show's, made its rounds at the Canadian Awards shows, is very critically acclaimed and is internationally distributed. It's kind of taken the profile of the show to another level. So first off, we got on Netflix in Canada, right? That was about a year ago that we premiered on Netflix. And I feel like that made the show accessible to like a wider, broader audience, because not every 20-something-year-old is necessarily tuning in to watch.cbc.ca, which is, or exactly Tuesday at 9 p.m., right? Like, it's hard to expect that of this kind of millennial, fickle generation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all about, doing things on their own terms. So once we got on Netflix, it was like, most of these people already have Netflix. They can just kind of
click and play.
Check out the show. Exactly. And then the fact that we had a partner like Netflix, and then they rolled us out kind of in countries all around the world. I feel like that played a big role in it as well. Netflix is just so accessible, and it's a good fit for the show, because the show it was never meant to be like a show that was hard to get to. It was, we pride ourselves on being very approachable, just from the top down. So,
are there going to be any opportunities for the cast to go to some of these countries besides Canada to do some promotion? Like, has Netflix been in contact at all, as far as you know, or?
I don't think Netflix has been in contact, but we might kind of go and do our own thing. I don't know what the rules are around that, but Netflix has this funny little conflict of interest, because they have so many originals, right?
So many.
Because they're acquiring hundreds and hundreds of titles every year, I guess it can be really difficult for them to prioritize what shows to push and what shows not to push. So, for the most part, I think we've kind of been on our own in terms of that. But it's not a bad thing necessarily. It means that we don't have to, it means that potentially a partner that doesn't quite understand us doesn't go out and create messaging that doesn't align with our kind of core beliefs. It kind of means that we get to continue doing what we do, which is kind of like grassroots outreach, kind of like seeing, what is going on in the Twitter conversation and joining in. Like, all of us are so great with that on social media, but it's because it's been instilled in our culture from day one. Like, we've prided ourselves, like I said, on being that approachable, accessible family. So, that's kind of the philosophy that we approach the promotion of the show as well. We're not kind of making ourselves out to be these like big celebrities, larger than life. It's like, no, this is every single family ever, right?
Yeah.
So it should be easy for you to talk to them. It should be easy for you to see how they get along, and yeah.
It must be because you mentioned like after season 1 getting kind of recognized around the street, but now like season 2 and 3, I mean, now it's probably more and more that you guys are getting recognized, especially like Toronto.
Yeah, it's been like and thank God it's happened on like a pretty like stable kind of incline. Otherwise, if it had just been this level right away, like it would have been, I think it would have been like too much to handle. But yeah, now it's obviously, the show is still going on and the ratings are still strong. So people are kind of like, the more episodes that you have, the more people are kind of drawn in, and the more people can like easily binge watch the show over a couple of days. So we're just gaining new fans left, right, and center, and they're so vocal and supportive. The one big thing for me is like I can't leave the house in my PJs anymore, which I'd love to do. I love to just be super low key and walk the dog in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. But now I know, like, people are going to ask for photos, and I can't necessarily look like a hobo anymore.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Carl, I had last year, and he's going to come back on the show because new season of Ballers comes out August 12th. But Carl McDowell, who was on Ballers with The Rock, he was talking about that, saying like, it's ridiculous how you can't plan it. I'll just be like, where I get recognized the most is when I'm just like in sweatpants coming home from the gym and just going to Ralph's, the grocery store, and getting some milk. And the guy's like, "You're TDD from Ballers," and he's like, "Yeah, man." And he doesn't look like
totally. For me, it's like, you know, I'll be recognized in kind of places and situations where I don't necessarily want to be recognized, like. I'll just be like doing work alone in a McDonald's with like because it's summertime and you get $1 drinks. I get this massive Diet Coke that I'm just sipping in a McDonald's by myself, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And I'm like, "Really? Like right now is the moment?"
That's awesome. One more question before we wrap up. I always try to make this show kind of a little bit of like a learning experience for a lot of my viewers. I have a lot of people that watch the show that are, students, whether in like sports media, whether like want to becoming actors or writers. So what are some kind of, I don't know, nuggets of wisdom or some advice from your perspective about working in the industry that you can kind of bestow on our viewers and listeners, man?
Okay. So I think about this all the time, because when something crazy like Kim's Convenience happens to you, you kind of like, you try to deconstruct how it happened, right? Is it because I was working hard? Is it because I have a winning mentality? Or is it because I'm just really freaking lucky? And I don't necessarily fully know the answer, but if I were to give any nuggets of wisdom over my time, I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but it was like, don't make your path so narrow that like there's only one way to succeed, and that one way is like extremely unlikely. For me, I knew I wanted to work in the industry. I knew I was very passionate about television and film, so I was like, listen, I might not happen for me as an actor in the time frame that I want it to. So in the meantime, what are 3 or 4 other skills that I can pick up and be a professional working quality worker at? I could have phrased that sentence a lot better, but whatever, it's all good. You get the
I get it. No, for sure.
So yeah, that would be the first thing I would say, is that like, you got to use up your free time, because in the arts, I feel like there's such like especially here in the city, there's kind of like this notion that there's not that much opportunity, and so maybe people shouldn't work as hard. Maybe people should, have one foot in, one foot out. They should have like a plan B, like a desk job or a Joe job. And certainly, I can't knock anybody else's hustle. Like, you got to do what you got to do to survive. But at the same time, like, you better be coming home from your job and then spending as much time as you possibly can working on your skills, and in order to succeed in this industry, because it's a hard industry for anybody to succeed. And it takes somebody who's truly, truly dedicated and committed and talented, and then luck on top of that. And then the second thing I would say is that you really got to kind of set your roots out and get yourself out there. Like, this is not an industry where you can kind of barricade yourself and be like, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to do it. You really, like, you have to meet people like you. You have to collaborate. This is a creative industry, and so you have to constantly surround yourself with people whose ideas are maybe better than yours, or from perspectives that you hadn't considered. You have to always just be challenging yourself to broaden your own perspective and your worldview. So
that's awesome, man. Well, Simu, we'll wrap up, but thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about your journey specifically and about Kim's Convenience, man. Congratulations to you and the cast and crew on the success so far, man, and I hope it continues to get bigger and better, man. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I got a quick question though. What's it gonna take for us to make it into your top 7 favorite shows?
Man, I saw that yesterday. I saw that yesterday, and I was, oh man, yeah. It's soon, man. Soon.
It's soon. All right.
It's in the top 10 for sure.
Okay. Well, listen, we're working hard for you. All right, and we gotta work hard, get up that 3 spots. And
my friend actually texted me about that yesterday. Did you see Twitter? Like, Jung from Kim's Convenience called you out for not talking about Kim. My friend texted me about that. I was like, yeah, I saw.
I love Twitter, man. I love this idea that we can just kind of see the conversation about the show, and we can respond to it directly, because it really, like, 10 years ago, you couldn't do that. You just like threw your show out into the ether, and then if people liked it, but you didn't know why they liked it. You didn't know what they had to say about it. So Twitter, I mean, it's such an amazing, amazing tool. I don't know why more actors aren't on it, just like constantly talking and learning, right?
Where can people follow you on social media? Like, what's the handle?
So the handle's just Simu Liu. You know, follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same, because I have a very unique name, and it works out very nicely for me.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on the show, man, and hopefully one day we can have you back on and you'll be in that top 7.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to it, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been Popturnative, youtube.com/Popturnative for video episodes of Popturnative, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts for the audio only versions of the episodes, because you know you might want to look at Simu, but maybe you don't want to see me, you just want to listen, so you have the options. But until next time, this is Simu Liu and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popturnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.